Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Razak School of Government 4th webinar in 2021, our 17th installment in total. Today's webinar is called Esok Masih Ada. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items and the structure of our webinar session today. To those who follow this webinar through Zoom, please mute your microphones. We are also broadcasting this webinar live on our Facebook. This webinar session is divided into 3 segments. First, we will begin with key questions posed to our guest speaker. Then, we will answer questions from participants. At any time during the webinar, you may submit your questions to the guest speaker. Just type your questions in the chat and comment section. Please keep your question short and straightforward. As time allows, we will address as many questions as possible. Lastly, we will then wrap up today's webinar session. This webinar is recorded, and you will be able to access this recording via our Facebook and YouTube page. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our guest speaker. TK JP Dato Haji Abdul Aziz bin Abdul Razak was born in Ipoh on 13 August 1966. He is currently the Deputy Director General of Prison, Security and Correctional. He obtained his Bachelor of Science in Resource Economy from University Putra Malaysia in 1989. Dato Aziz began his career in civil service in 1990 at Maktab Penjara Malaysia before serving at Penjara Pudu Kuala Lumpur and Penjara Sungai Buloh. He was instrumental in the shifting of prisoners from Penjara Pudu to Penjara Sungai Buloh, involving 1,300 inmates of various categories without any incident. He was the Correctional Academy Director based in Langkawi from 2009-2011. He was the Bentong Prison Director until 2015, where he restructured weaving workshop to improve the quality and design of tenun weaves in collaboration with UiTM Shah Alam. The Pahang tenun weaves is now well known and even produced as a gift for the World Girl Guide Assembly delegation in Sweden. In 2017, he was promoted as Director on Prison Policy, where he introduced the Corporate Smart Internship, CSI, to train and retrain orang yang diparol and orang yang diselia with government-linked companies and private sector in manufacturing and agriculture to reduce reliance on foreign workers. He was then promoted as Deputy Director General of Prison Community in 2018 before holding his current position. Dato Aziz also holds a Bachelor of Law degree from UiTM and Master of Arts in Social Work from University Utara Malaysia, both of which was self-funded. He is also an alumni of RSOG Senior Leadership Program in 2019. Yang berbahagia Dato' Abdul Aziz, let us get started. The first question to the guest speaker: what is the importance of community service to Malaysian Prison Department? Dipersilakan, Dato'.
Terima kasih. And thank you so much, Encik Joe. Introduced me very lengthy in my background. First of all, I would like to say thank you to RSOG inviting me to be a guest speaker for your program today, to share my views and my experience dealing with men behind the bars. This sound like not really inviting, but interesting to know. This is because it's good for save our life and save our loved one. I got experience with working with President Yaman for the past 31 years. So I look very, we call it fast transformation. President Department undergone for 30 years. We're moving from incarceration, we're focusing on security. We move up to rehabilitation, and now we move up to reintegration. We always forget the functions of the entity or the prison department. We always remember and understood when a person been charged in court, is sentencing by the court and sent to the prison to serve the sentence until date of release. So from now, when we look, the reintegrations are very important to make sure a person or the convicts be able to be a good citizen, a productive citizen when they release from the prison. We introduce a program, rehabilitation in community, under parole system, and also we call it the reintegration program with the community. We call we call CRP, Community Rehabilitation Program. We call it ODS, or orang yang di parole, ODP, under parole system. So the program started in 2017 until now. There's so many success story we could share together, how we bring them from perspective in prison, but we prepare them for release in community. Why important community service in prison department? First, our expenditure, our government expenditure increasing time from year to year to manage the offender. It almost about 200 million to cater them for providing meals and others essential needs. But the number could be increasing from year to year, the number of inmates. At the moment, we have 70,000 inmates throughout Malaysia. I would like to share the category of inmates in prison. Convicted 65%, remand about 30%, and foreigner about 5%. Why important CSI? Why important community service in prison department? We want to reduce the government expenditure first. Number two, we want to put up effective rehabilitation program among the inmate who eligible for parole or eligible for orang yang disila, we call it ODS. Through our experience, when we introduced the parole system since 2008 until now, we managed to supervise orang yang di parole. Then we introduced the orang yang disila in 2011. The number of percentage reoffending among inmates or among the orang disila, among orang yang di parole, only 0.4%. Meaning to say, rehabilitation in community very, very effective. But before they can join community rehabilitation program, they must fulfill the requirement which stipulated by our Director General Standing Order. First, they must they must achieve a certain grade of performance of rehabilitation inside the prison. Then the length of sentence not more than 36 months, so they can join this program in community rehabilitation program. Number three, why important is overcrowding. 70,000 is at the moment our number for inmate, but our capacity only 52,000, Cik Jo. So it's more 25% overcrowding. So with this program, they release from prison, early release meaning to say, but they still supervise a prison officer. We want or we intend to reduce overcrowding. When we reduce the overcrowding inside the prison, we give more space, more facility to other prisoners to carry out our program inside the prisons. And fourthly, when they join the corporate smart internship, collaborate with we call it the government link company. At the end of the sentence, they are able to manage, or if they get in their saving, so to prepare a new life. So when they have money, they have some, you call it budget to make it them more ready in go back to society. And lastly, when they join the corporate internship, we want it to be a skilled worker to contribute to our countries, to be a good workforce, to we call it to avoid or to reduce depending on the foreign workers. That's why corporate smart internship and the corporate community service are very important to prison department. So back to you, Tio.
Thank you so much, Dato. There's a very good introduction that you offered to the participant, the evolution of the function of the prison department and all the 5 importance of the community service to the department, which range from expenditure to capacity, as well as preparation for the inmates after they reintegrate with the society. Dato, our second question is a follow-up from the first one. What are the challenges in community service to the prison department?
Okay, thank you, Jo. The challenges, many. Okay, our team today, Esok Masih ada. Or indirectly we call it, I don't know why Cik Jo choose this team for today, right? Meaning to say, tomorrow will come. Tomorrow will come. Doesn't mean imprisonment is the end of the world. So we give a chance or second chance to inmates to perform or to restore their discipline before they back to the community. So the challenges I could share here, first is acceptance by the community or acceptance by the employers or the family itself. Since 2008, how we advocate the community at the end of the sentence, at the end of the prisoner sent to the prison, they back to the community. So that's a challenge for us, how we convince community to accept them when they are released on parole or they undergone for the orang yang diselia. Number one. Number two, facilities being provided very limited. Our district, we call it the Pejabat Parole Daerah or Parole District Office, scattered throughout our country. We suppose with the number of orang yang diparole today and orang yang diparole 2,500 today, with the staff 2,750 in 52 district. Might be certain district we combine like Bentong and Temerloh. It's 2 district, we combine 1 district. If the number of district could be increased, the number of staff will be increased. The supervision by our parole officer in on field, I think, are more easier for us. But if the number of is still limited, our staff burden of work will be more stressed, and they have to go time to time to supervise orang diselia in the community. 3, we called it the nuisance or the malicious person. Orang yang diselia, orang diparole, they are very good. Actually, they are very disciplined. I had the information from the employer, they are more preferable taking orang disability or employee working with their company because more discipline. And our staff come from time to time to supervise. So any discrepancy or not satisfied the performance, our staff, our parole officer will intervene, will give them intervention to make expectation to the employer. But the nuisance I mean here might be the others workers working together with the orang disability, working together with the orang in the pro. They might be disturbed, but sometimes a very sarcastic word and make it them more inferiority. So it sometimes become more not very free and not very, we call it, effective when they're working. But they're still thinking how he or she can adapt in the community. So another is we called it continuity in the same. They continue works after they release from the or they complete the sentence. Might be they're working in agriculture. That's how Cik Jo explained in preamble just now. They're working in agriculture sector, in manufacturing, in construction. But they, after completion the training, because internship, most of them, but not all, most of them prefer back to their kampung. So we want try to prevent their back to the kampung, back to the community, because they are really, we call it homesick, and then they have a responsibility as a father or mother, or they have a responsibility to taking care of their families. That's how we facing the challenges. But how we solve the problem, we want it provide them more, we call it the facilities as some sort of like hostel, but they're not joined together with others ODS or ODP because they are already released from the sentence. So if the company or the employer can provide a house for their family, I think they're not go back to the families or go back to the kampung. They continue with the company and continue to be become skilled workers from time to time. So I hope that with the ideas, the challenges we face now, not recall it, we stop at the moment, but we try to from time to time we try to get the ideas, the alternative, how to solve and how to taking care of the challenges. Back to Cik Jo.
Thank you so much, Dato. We really like the way you explain the reality check as far as challenges is concerned, among others about acceptance of the society and their affiliation, the families that they have, and how to match with the job ability that are in the market. You pointed rightly, Dato, why RSOG chose the topic Esok Masih Ada. I guess this is something that we're going to discuss in the last question to Dato. How do you see the community service in the future, Dato?
Okay, in the future, we doesn't know, but with the scenario planning, we can anticipate what could be happen in future under community service. For your information and others' views today, rehabilitation in community, as I said, more effective because involvement with so many relevant agencies, NGOs, communities, and so on. We plan if it goes smooth, we hope that we can achieve 2/3 from the total number of eligible person can we bring up from prison to community. They go through, they continue the program, we call it rehabilitation in community. 2/3. 1/3 we reserve in prison. Why do I say that? 1/3 we consider very hardcore criminals, or we call it re-offending so many times. So the hardcore criminal and recidivists quite number, hardcore, we retain in prison. So we more intensive, we put out the more program to make sure when they back to the society, they can be a good citizen. But two-thirds in community, as I said, they are more very productive. They can contribute to our countries, our nation, to build our nations. When they are very effective, they're very productive, of course, the number of recidivists, number of reoffending will be decreased. That's we want try to achieve. In future, we try to identify more program in community. Number two, when the community involvement very intensive, we hope our country become more civilized society. What does mean by the civilized society? It's very simple words, but how we understood. Civilized society meaning to say all the society, the members of society responsible to make sure the members of society to be a good citizen. Even though they're inside the prison, even though they're outside from the prison, they are be able to continue to supervise, to assist and guide them together. So by initiate the ideas by introducing by the CSI, I hope that the supportive from the employer, supportive from the many companies, supportive from individual companies will support us together, continue to support, and we hope that we can achieve civilized society in future. The rate of reoffending at the moment, if they continue with rehabilitation community, at the moment only 0.4% after the risk within 3 years. So the number of reoffending 0.4%, meaning if we compare with release direct from prison, more than 10%. So it shows that community is very important to ensure, to support the program must be continued. Omnipresence of prison officer, or we called it office in district. I can observe when I have opportunity go to Japan in Tokyo. Their community service, community involvement very, very effective in Chiyo. We hope that the Malaysia one day to be now we are going to developing countries to achieve a certain state of the state of mind of people that care of other people. They're not, we call it very selfish. So meaning to say everybody have their own responsible, own duties to make sure the neighboring or the neighbors who in front us, who behind us must be in good condition to perform and to be a good, we call it support each other. And then last, when I said two-third imprisonment, two-third prisoner in society, meaning to say we don't need to spend a lot of money, government money, to build a new prison. When the number of new cases inside go to the prison. So when we introduce two-third of we call it our vision to achieve two-third in community, we don't need to spend a lot of money to spend to build a new prison. So when we build a new prison, sometimes give back reflection to our country. When new prison, we hope that who are we giving opportunity to join community service in, we call it rehabilitation in community, he or she to close the prison in future. So meaning to say they are really realize, really we call it repent, and then try to be good model to other person, don't to be he or she. Because when you put inside the prison, you stay in prison, a lot of things will be forfeit from his life. So one very important is, we call it freedom. Freedom cannot buy with the money. So when we give a chance, please utilize, please optimize what does mean by the freedom. So as a prison officer, I hope that all of us can play our role to support prison and support the inmates to become a more productive person when they are totally released from the prison. So I back to you, Cik Jo.
Terima kasih, Dato. As far as support is concerned, you can always count on RSOG. This is our beginning in supporting the department by having a forum where people can speak on a topic that probably being less discussed in other forums. Dato, it's a pleasant coincidence that for the last 8 years, RSOG has a program for district officers and local authority officials in Japan, where they were introduced on how to facilitate community engagement and so on. I guess this is a potential area for us to work out in the future. Datuk, kita dah mula terima soalan daripada peserta.
Okay.
Soalan yang pertama daripada Puan Hanim. Puan Hanim bertanya, bagaimanakah penjara memainkan peranan untuk educate komuniti luar, untuk mengubah stigma terhadap bekas-bekas panduan? Mungkinkah perlu lebih banyak penerangan disalurkan melalui media elektronik berkaitan education proses ni? Silakan, Datuk.
Okay, terima kasih, Cik Jo. To educate community is a long process. I have we call it outreach program. We plan and we having we call it time with community. As we go along, most of them doesn't understood really what you call it, how the community can help us. But with the outreach program, but sometimes we cannot doing very frequently. We doing periodically, might be once a month, to inform a certain particular area or particular district. We collaborate with the district office, and then might be the district office call up so many, we call it the head of the community, head of kampong, to join us with our program. So in order to make sure the community will be understood how they can play their role to support, I can suggest that both in the prison department or other related agency will cooperate, will identify which area we suppose give them more, we call it not say education, but we try to advocate how they can help us.
Datuk, Puan Hanim ada soalan tambahan daripada soalan yang pertama tadi. Dia kata, boleh tak Datuk terangkan secara ringkas apa yang Jepun buat seperti Datuk sebutkan tadi, sangat efektif?
Alright. I saw in Japan, they appoint head of the communities. From head community, they have a few numbers of, we call it the members, the few number of members. They go to the prison. They give talk, they give motivation, they give guidance in the correctional facilities. One. Number two, prison also very, we called it willing to accept, to join the community using their facilities. Ensure the feeling of scary, feeling of uninvited among community, they're not really invited. So both party between the prison department and the community, they work together. That the members of society are very, very, we call it willing, very, you call it volunteers to do, right. Not because they try to mileage their name or whatever it is.
Right.
They put up really, we call it fully hearted to help.
Right.
We also look on how they treat us when we join the program. I feel very freely, I feel very comfortable. When they can talk about prison, they can talk very efficient, very precise, the fact how the prison in Tokyo, in Japan, they do rehabilitation program inside the prison. So how they said we show, you can show that how very we call it the together community and prison department, or they call it a correctional service in Japan.
Right.
Yeah.
Dato, if we infer you correctly, Dato, we could feel the genuine interest of both parties in Japan, the prison department and the community, to make things better, and there is a significant trust between the two parties in
Yes,
implementing.
it's a correct word.
I have a next question from Kairia. She asked, the pandemic has affected prison setting greatly during the pandemic. What steps has prison department take to improve the condition?
Oh, it's a very unexpected question will come up. Okay, we cannot avoid, we cannot run away from the pandemic.
Right.
Our countries declare we call it MTO since I'm not mistaken 15 March 2019 2020 last year.
Right.
Now we still continue to accept to receive convicts from the courts to the prison. So how we manage? Is it we having a SOP? We have a very we call it a very strict SOP how to comply or to adhere the SOP? Yes. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Ministry of Ministry of Home Affairs to support us. What's our requirement, our need to manage convict inside the prison when a person might be an inmate or staff been infected. So first, when we receive from the courts or receive from any competent court sent to prison, we call it quarantine. We quarantine them for 14 days. Within 14 days, we under Ministry of Health, we collaborate together. We want them doing the swab test to ensure a person come to the prison free from COVID. So within 14 days, when we receive batch by batch, I can say that by something like today, 17 March, we put them in the 17 March cohort in different block. In different blocks. So after 14 days, or within 14 days, the Ministry of Health they assign doctors, they assign a medical assistant to taking care of them within 14 days. After we get the result, PCR, or we get the RTK result, they are free from COVID, we put them in the normal block. But if positive, level 1 or level 2 COVID, level 1 or level 2, we continue, but we manage, we control by advice and check by the doctors, the medical officers, attached with prison department. So if the seriousness of the convicts affected to the prisoner, level 4 and level 3, level 4, level 5, we cannot do anything. So we escort them, we send to we call it PK in hospital, government hospital. In Klang Valley, we send to Sungai Buloh prison, Sungai Buloh hospital, other facilities, health facilities in our countries. So at the moment, we can share with you. That's not the problem. We can manage, helping from the Ministry of Home Affairs, helping the we call it MOF. We get some budget. So we ran a block, we ran a facilities. We call it PLKN, Pusat Latihan Khidmat Negara. We using the facilities. Which prison more we call the congested prison, some sort like in Kajang, in Sungai Buloh. we put temporary in PL camp for a while. After 14 days, if they're free from COVID, we bring back to the prison, to Kajang or Sungai Buloh prison. If positive, level 1 and level 2, they will continue quarantine in PLKN, and we'll check by the doctor very frequent, very regularly. If free, we also send back, but if net positive, continue to quarantine. That's how we manage convict inside the prison. But is it affected through the rehabilitation program? Yes.
Yeah.
For 42 facilities in prison in Malaysia, only one prison not affected, Cik Jo.
Right.
In we call it Dusun Datuk Murad in Melaka. The rest of the prison already infected, but we managed to control.
Right.
Not become really out of control, but have experience since last year. Start from in Tawau prison, and continue with Alustar. And now only one prison under EMCO in Tawau prison, in Bintulu. Sibu. So don't worry. Our duty is to make sure a safe custody. All the inmates and the families doesn't worry. They can communicate with their families. They can talk over the phone. We provide the telephone, but they have to pay. Not borne by the government. They have to pay, but the cost are very limited. The charge are very limited.
Right.
So they freely to talk to family with certain period of time. So we pledge and uphold our we call it the mission, safe custody. So even though COVID, we still can manage.
Right.
Okay, back to you.
Dato, in short, the pandemic is unexpected. Everybody don't have experience on how best we can manage the pandemic. So as far as prison department is concerned, all the necessary procedures are in place, and you receive tremendous support from the related agency like Ministry of Home Affairs and even from the Ministry of Finance. Dato, you appears very passionate about your job, and you be able to link from one point to another very smoothly. What motivates you, Dato, as a public service leader to first to join the prison department, and how you continue for the last 31 years in the service? You can share with us, Dato.
Good for the youngsters.
Yeah.
I never come across in my mind to work with prison department. Really, no. But during my studies time in University Putra, 4 or 5 years, they offer me, we called it ROTU, to join ROTU program. We call it ROTU Reserve Officer Training Unit. We carry with 6 credit hours that time. Very, very high credit hours, but they evaluate you at the end of the semester 6. If you get A's, you have increased your CGPA at that time.
Okay.
So I managed to get A, Cik Jo.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So during the training, within the 3 years, I always communicate with the we call it chat, discussing with my trainer. We called it that time chief training officers. It's a very enthusiastic to train people. So that triggered my mind. We can change people. We can change behavior of people by support and give them a good guides to change. And also my we call it the principal, 7 college principal. I think he is still lecturing, part-time lecturing in University Putra, Professor Azhari Ismail. I think if you come from Agri, you come from Serdang, the lecturers is very prominent person, they know. So I believe that people can change when we really give them support and guides. So when I apply prison department, that time we call it SPSD or JPA, is it I can work or with prison or not? I cannot answer that time. But I believe the principle, every people got a potential. Every people got the same chance to show or to have they are a very good person. So when I joined prison, I understood my background is economy. How we can relate from economic to prison? It's very we call it very vague area, because economic talk about the money, we talk about the outcome, income for the countries. But my background is not purely economic, but my background is resource economy. How we manage the resource or natural resource economy. So when I joined prisons, I look so many variable we can look, we can revisit, or we look how the variable can contribute to become productive. Productive meaning to say a prison put up in their track, the right track, and then we call it the society can accept. The society can willing to have prisons, right? Willing to have prison. They are not do alone, because we go together. So with the principle, I managed to work with prison for 31 years. So how do I say it? You say I can passion with my profession.
Right.
One principle I hold is you must do better for today is compared from yesterday. That's I hold from my gurus. So it also to help us to every day we try to improve ourselves. That's how I passion with my career, Jijo.
It appears to us that your training at the university influenced you quite considerably into the profession, the uniform bodies that you join, and then the subject that you learn about resource economy, which you apply very effectively in your job. What about your subordinates, Dato? Your team? How do you bring your team together, especially in ensuring all the community service are implemented effectively?
Okay, teamwork is very important. Teamwork you cannot do alone. If I give the direction, I make sure clear. The direction must be clear and understood and simple to implement. Or the direction must be practical. So I discuss with them, is it possible to implement or not?
Tajuk esok masih ada. Cik dia ni.
Sorry, Dato.
Okay.
Yeah.
Forgot my point.
Your team, the teamwork.
Okay. I have to ensure that my subordinate understood my direction first. Number two, I having we call it this informal discussion. Informal discussions are very important. Why during we have a cup of tea in our cafe, just talk about simple topic. So let he or she talk to me. That's how I can evaluate him whether he understood or he very passionate with their work. Number two. Number three, any problems we have to solve together. We cannot give we call it solely to him or he to solve. He or she have a problem is come from me. I have to accept the motto we call it. If they're doing wrong, they're doing a mistake, I have to put up my mind first through my faults, through my grievous fault. If I never do the fault, he must do the right one, the right things. So even though he doing the wrong things, might be the percentage of contribution he doing the wrong thing, it come from me. So I have to ensure to make sure they really understood and can carry out my direction. And last, never we called it when we achieve certain we called it success story. It's not become from me. It become from all together, come from my team. So that's how I can manage and how I can go about with my subordinate. Very we called it. They go freely, even though we are wearing uniform. Even though we are very strict, but they are willing to do with more. We got full-hearted to implement it.
If we get you correctly, Dato, yes, your department is a uniform body, but when it comes to teams work, you always ensure there's an open communication. Everybody understood what to be achieved and help each other on getting the objective. Dato, balik tentang community, setengah daripada inmates ni dia ada keluarga ataupun anak ke isteri. Ada tak bentuk-bentuk bantuan yang Jabatan Penjara ataupun bersama-sama dengan komuniti sendiri untuk bantu keluarga semasa inmates menjalani tahanan?
Okay, apakah we call it the function of prison department to help a family? Next of kin.
Next of kin, correct.
Next of kin while they are in prison.
Exactly, precisely that.
All right. We are limited power, Cik Jo. Limited power meaning under the law we cannot do so. But we having we call it the welfare officers. We as secondment to our department.
Right.
When inmate in prisons, during their we call it admission, our welfare officer will interview what upcoming problem they are foresee when he or she in prison. So the welfare officers will not joke down and discuss with their superior in prisons, whether it's within our jurisdiction or out of our jurisdiction.
Right.
So through my experience since 31 years, since 1991,
right.
I'm very we call it terpesona. We called it enchanting with the functions of that time. The welfare officer communicate with his family,
right.
How we manage his family, his next of kin or their families in incarceration. Because this support in terms of money we cannot give because we are limited. We doesn't have power to spend the money for them, but we facilitate. Some sort like EPF, might be they can withdraw from the bank, from the EPF or from the bank. Then families, might be the children go to school.
Right.
So we collaborate with NGOs,
right.
buy the things like the bags or uniform school to help the families. That's we can do, Cik Jo. Even though he in prison, but we still not neglect. We still not ignore the family of the inmates.
Right. Dato', if we understand you correctly, there is a limit to what the department can offer. But as much as possible, the department will try to find a way, for example, the welfare officer, at the very least, to offer the facilitation to the next of kin. Dato', I have a question from Encik Ahmad Shahno. He asks you, is it true that an inmate will be given a place to stay before they can find a job after the release?
If
Before they release, if they don't have place to stay,
okay.
is there a temporary shelter be given to them? Yeah.
Thank you Encik apa tadi?
Ahmad Syahno.
Ahmad Shannon. Thank you Encik Ahmad for concern about that. Okay. Of course, I said sometimes the challenges of the community service is acceptance from the family. They are sometimes they abandon. They want back to the family, but family reject. So our duty is to find out ways to provide we call it a temporary, some sort like a hostel. In our laws, also not stated at the moment in prison rules or prison act, but through our initiative, under we called it those days in 2010 and 2011, we called it National NBOS, National Blue Ocean Strategies. We called it the halfway house. So with the budget under NBOS program, we managed to form halfway house every state. At the moment, we have 16. In Sabah, we have 2. The rest of the state, we have 1. So the functions of this halfway house is to accommodate them for short periods after they are released from prison. Because when they join when they stay in the halfway house, we call them a resident. So we give them a maximum of three months to stay there to find out the job, a suitable job for him. Might be they can continue after 3 months when they are after release and they join the program. But at the early stage when they join the halfway house, the government provide a meal, $10 a day. So before they go out for work, they stay in the halfway house. They're having a $10 a day. They can buy food for breakfast and the lunch for the first month. So when they get the money, they earn the wages from the company they work. They can continue life with their, we call it the wages. So that's how we provide provide house or hostel for the ex-inmate or ex-convicts after the release from prison.
There is a proper transition, Dato, before they can settle down. Yeah.
But also challenges, the challenges we call it the halfway house, because some of halfway house placed in garden or taman-taman.
Oh.
So his house to the halfway house is the norm of the resident. I still remember in 2011 petition from the community not accept. But when we educate them, this person slowly to show off this person a very good person.
Right.
And any program in community, they come forward, they come first.
Right.
Some like go to Royong or kenduri kendara in their taman. Right. So the resident to be a first person to help. So slowly the movement they can accept by the community in the taman, the halfway house. That's our true experience in Penang and also in Perak.
Thank you for the additional information, Dato. In fact, I thought that the halfway house is not as that integrated that you just pointed. It is in the taman. They live with the community. Dato, this brings to the next question. I just have the name iPad there without any name. The person asks you, how can community leaders help reintegration of former inmates into society?
Okay, community leaders, as I said, I mentioned my challenges just now. we have 52 pro district office. We have 52 pro district office. We hope the number of office will be increased with the, we call it, our roles become more complex. We hope that we can achieve by this year the number of office 72. We put up a number to the public service department to employ and the number of manpower. How the community leaders can help us? I make sure the parole district officer will communicate, suppose they communicate and suppose they work together with community leaders to help orang di parole, to help orang yang diselia. But if the community leader want help them inside the prison, we also very welcome. We are very welcome. Might be to give a motivation. So many NGOs, so many religious bodies, so many, we call it technical training to help a prisoner give skill or reskilling during the imprisonment in prison, inside the prison. So outside the prison, in community, we having a community pro district office. We can find out in our web where are the pro office located in their area. So 52 is quite a big number of district office, but all the community leader can communicate with them. So that's how I suggest that.
That's how it works, yeah. Together with the officers at the district level to make it work, yeah. Dato, sedar atau tidak, masa dah makin menghampiri jam 1. Sebelum kita mengakhiri program pada tengah hari ini, kata-kata akhir daripada Dato, silakan.
Okey, untuk RSOG, saya ucap terima kasih banyak-banyak kepada RSOG beri peluang kepada penjara ni untuk berkongsi ini, sebab saya lihat movement yang saya nyatakan tadi daripada incarceration, rehabilitation, go to reintegration is a good transformation process undergone by prison department. Their duties or the passion, we cannot we call it complacent at this stage. We must think, we try to find out ways, the effective ways to help the inmates, to help the orang diselia, to help orang yang di-parole to become more productive person. That's we want try to achieve perpetually in future by communicate with all this mean like RSOG, might be the young leaders, the young officers together with me today. You also be a part of to help us. Yes, I hope that, really hope that. Yeah, thank you.
Dato, we share your enthusiasm and your optimism, Dato. InsyaAllah, saya percaya dengan langkah-langkah yang telah dan akan diambil, esok masih ada untuk kita, ya. As far as community service and the Malaysian Prison Department is concerned. We would like to thank Dato Abdul Aziz for spending time with us today. Dato, kami di RSOG mendoakan Dato diberi kesihatan yang baik, dipermudahkan urusan kepada tim Dato seluruhannya di Prison Department, supaya hasrat murni kita, community service ni akan dapat dibawa ke peringkat yang lebih tinggi lagi.
Terima kasih Jijo, so much.
We also thank the participant for taking part, the question, the feedback that you gave. We value it. We apologize for any shortcoming. Please follow us on social media for our future session. Till we meet again, please take care and stay safe. Thank you. Dato, sebelum kami terlupa, kami difahamkan semalam adalah hari penjara ke-231, ya?
Yeah, they're supposed on yesterday, but we want to celebrate on the 30th this March.
Kami ambil juga kesempatan ini mengucapkan Selamat Hari Penjara kepada Dato' dan warga penjara keseluruhannya.
Okay, thank you so much. Alright.
Terima kasih kepada semua. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.